Hi, I'm Heather,
I'm Amanda.
and this is a citizen science video for the Bristow Public Library. And today we're going to talk about
Monarchs.
monarchs, like the butterfly. But I don't really know why monarchs are such a big deal. Do you know why monarchs are so important?
They're actually really cool butterflies. They pollinate a bunch of flowers by going. A butterfly will go to each flower and drink the nectar, and then while they're at the flower, the pollen will brush off on their legs because they're really fuzzy on their abdomen and thorax, and then they'll fly to another flower, and the pollen will brush off and mix on that flower's stamen.
Kind of like a big
And
pollen party.
yeah, and then that's how the seeds form. That's how they get
Cool.
started.
Very cool. Well, why else are monarchs important then?
Well, they're a great food source for some birds, like black-backed orioles and black-headed grosbeaks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Most birds are actually poisonous too.
Interesting.
We'll get into that in a little bit when we're talking about caterpillars.
Okay.
They're also the only butterfly species to migrate.
Wait, what?
Mhm.
Migrate? Like birds?
Kind of, yeah. So, except birds will migrate a bunch of times in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Butterflies actually take generations to migrate. Like you'll have one generation of butterflies flying from Mexico up north, and then depending on how far north they go, they'll actually they'll actually have have caterpillars, and then that generation will die off. Then the caterpillars will grow, and then they'll keep going for a couple of generations, and then eventually the generations will come back that next year, and they'll go back to the same tree they started from.
So wait, hold up. You're telling me that a butterfly, a monarch butterfly, ends up flying back to the home of like its great or great grandparent?
Yep.
That's crazy!
It's wild. Scientists still really don't know how that works. If there's some kind of smell or it's
Wow.
crazy.
Well, I've been hearing a lot about monarchs on the news lately. So why and why are they so important lately?
Well, they've actually been put on the endangered species list.
That's no good. That's no good, you guys. We need the monarchs, don't we? And they're very special.
Oh yeah, they're really neat butterflies. They're really pretty anyway, and
So, what are some of the reasons why they are endangered now?
well, for some reason it's just due to weather. That if you have a really bad drought, you don't have flowers growing, they don't have food, they die out. If you've got a really bad freeze, then they get they freeze, and a lot of them die out. That happened in the early 2000s. You had mass thousands of butterflies die, and then sometimes you have really bad, uh, not quite droughts, but whenever it's been really hot, like it's been this year, and everything just shrivels up and dies, and they don't have any food, and they die. And then you also have habitat loss.
Habitat loss. Habitat, I remember that. Habitat is where different animals live, right? You're saying it's being lost?
Yeah, sometimes whenever whenever you mow a field right before flowers start setting off seeds, that they can't grow back, so
You don't
you
get as
don't get the
many
seeds that grow.
flowers, and the butterflies eat the flowers. That's horrible.
Yeah.
So, do you have any other knowledge about this really cool animal? I want to know more
Yeah.
about it.
All right. So one of the really neat things that I touched on earlier is that the butterflies are actually poisonous to a lot of birds. That's from whenever they were caterpillars. This, I don't know if you can kind of see it. You've got the stripes, this yellow, black, and white caterpillar. They only eat milkweed, which is a poisonous plant, and they absorb that poison from when they eat it as a caterpillar, and they keep that poison.
And so that makes them completely unpalatable or gross to birds.
Yep, birds will
Got
just spit them back up.
Me too.
And other butterflies actually use that to their advantage. It's called mimicry, and you've got the queen butterfly and the viceroy butterfly that are also orange butterflies with white spots and black wing margins that pretend to be a monarch.
They're imposters.
It's really cool.
So, do you know any other cool facts about monarchs? Like, I want to know, like, the ins and outs. How does the monarch butterfly work, and how does it like change into a butterfly?
Okay, so the butterflies, the way they breathe is actually really weird. Whenever we breathe, we have lungs. That we have diaphragm that sucks our lungs down and sucks air in, and then you push it back out with your diaphragm. Doing yoga, and that's how we breathe. It's called negative pressure breathing. But the way butterflies work and other insects and bugs is they actually have these holes their in their uh, in their exoskeleton.
What?
Yeah, they have holes all along. They have holes all along their abdomen. This part right here that have what's called trachea. They're little hoses, kind of like our trachea, that connect inside the butterfly, and oxygen, the air just moves through them, and they absorb oxygen from the air.
That blows my mind. That's almost kind of like fish and how fish have gills, right? Except
you don't really have blood circulating. And you don't really have heart.
That is so interesting.
Mm-hmm. And for a mouth, they have what's called a proboscis.
Yeah.
Just like a giant straw.
Yeah, so they just go around sucking up all of the nectar from all the plants.
Yeah.
So cool.
Oh yeah. And you can actually tell a male monarch from a female monarch because this is a male. They have a thinner. The males have a thinner black mark here. The females have a darker one. They're just darker overall.
Okay.
They're darker orange, and they've got thicker black lines.
Okay. So I really, really, really want to help the monarchs. Do you have any ideas about how I could help monarchs at home?
Well, something you could do, and this would be really easy since we live right in the middle of where they migrate, is plant some wildflowers.
Wildflowers.
Like
milkweed. That's their favorite thing to eat, right? And where they lay their eggs?
That's what the caterpillars love to eat. The monarchs, the butterflies, will drink nectar from a ton of different flowers. The caterpillars need milkweed.
Got it. I know a thing or two about milkweed. This is milkweed. This one is Asclepias vulgaria, also known as butterfly weed. You guys see the orange flowers on it? That's kind of what gives it away. Also, if you break the stem, kind of a milky sap busts out, hence the name milkweed. But there's another type that grows pretty predominantly in Oklahoma called Asclepias tuberosa, or antelope horns. And it looks very similar to this too, but the flowers are more white or opaque or milk colored instead of orange, right?
Oh yeah.
So I did some research and I decided that this year I'm going to try to grow as much milkweed as I can, right, out on my farm. So, first of all, I learned how to identify milkweed, and then I collected seed pods. This is what the seed pods look like. You guys probably can't see that super well, but they're kind of oblong, they're football shaped, and they have ridges. And when you see one out in the wild, it may already be broken open because naturally in the wild, I learned that they break open and then their little seeds have all these little hairs. And then they catch a ride on the wind.
Like dandelions.
Yeah, just like dandelions actually. And then they find a cozy place in the soil and they shuck it out through the winter in the cold, freezing temperatures. And the process of freezing and thawing and freezing and thawing is called cold stratification, or basically, it's the process that helps the seed germinate in the spring, right?
Yeah, it's really cool. Because whenever something gets cold, it'll shrink, and then whenever it gets warm, it expands, and that actually makes little fractures, little cuts in the hole in the seeds.
And it makes these little tiny seeds, which you guys can't see, but it makes these itty bitty tiny seeds finally crack open and germinate. So, my plan this year is to spread as many milkweed seeds as possible and not mow in the spring and summer until these wonderful plants and food sources for our monarchs have a chance to really flower and be a good food source. Do you think that's a good plan?
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Especially if you've got a pasture that you don't do anything in, or if you just have cows, uh, you can just throw seeds out there, and you're gonna have a ton of butterflies.
I
Because you don't have to
agree.
do anything with it.
I think that's wonderful. Low maintenance, and you get to see all these wonderful creatures, right?
Oh yeah.
I definitely have a plan for this year. Um, we're going to go ahead and attach a list of resources at the end of this video. So if you're not subscribed already, follow us on the social medias, follow us here on YouTube, and hopefully we'll be back soon with another citizen science video.